He abandoned her. Pregnant. Alone. A woman who once believed love could conquer anything, left behind like yesterday's story. Welcome to Tales by View, where we bring you the stories that hit deep, twist hard, and keep you watching till the last second. Before we begin, please subscribe to help us grow, and tell us in the comments what country you're watching from. We love to hear from you. The story of Chioma and Desmond began like all great love stories, simple, pure, and full of promise. In those days, Desmond was everything to Chioma. He was tall, handsome in that rugged way only village boys could be, with dreams bigger than the sky above them. He used to walk her home after market days, carrying the basket on his head while she teased him about being her husband already. In the evenings, when the air was soft and the moon spilled silver across the dusty roads, they would sit under the old mango tree near the stream. That was their place. It was there Desmond made promises that wrapped around her heart like silk. One day, he would whisper, voice low but sure, "I'll give you the kind of life you see in magazines. A big house in the city. Cars that shine like diamonds. Our children will speak English like those rich people on TV. You will wear gold, Chioma. Real gold, not this brass you buy in the market." Chioma would laugh then, leaning against his shoulder. "Desmond, I don't need gold. Just love me and stay by my side. That's all I want." And he would look at her with those eyes, the eyes of a man who seemed ready to fight the world for her, and swear, "Always, Chioma. It's you and me forever." Back then, Chioma believed him. Everyone in the village did. Desmond and Chioma were the couple people pointed at and said, "See them? That is true love." But the thing about dreams is, sometimes they grow teeth. It started slowly. Desmond began traveling to the nearby town more often, taking small jobs, saving money, always talking about the big break coming soon. Chioma thought nothing of it at first. She was proud of him, proud of his ambition. Then came the whispers. Madame Veronica. The rich widow with 3 ex-husbands and more money than sense. She was old enough to be Desmond's mother, they said. She liked her men young, strong, and easy to control. People laughed about it in the market, said she would never let Desmond go if she laid hands on him. Chioma dismissed it. Her Desmond? Never. Until the night everything changed. That evening, the sky hung heavy, thick with clouds that threatened rain. Chioma cooked his favorite yam porridge, the one with enough palm oil to stain the lips, the one he always claimed tasted better than his mother's own. She wore the wrapper he once said made her look like a queen, the one with bright yellow flowers. But when Desmond came home, his eyes were different. Harder. Restless, like they were already looking somewhere else. She asked him what was wrong, but he barely answered. He kept glancing at the road outside, at the clock on the wall, like he was waiting for something. Then the silver Mercedes rolled in. It stopped right in front of their compound, kicking up dust. And out stepped Madame Veronica herself, tall, heavy-set, wrapped in a silk gown that shimmered under the moonlight. Gold bangles clinked on her wrists. Her perfume came in waves, thick and expensive. She didn't even look at Chioma. Her eyes were fixed on Desmond the way a collector looks at a prized painting. "Time is money, young man," she said, voice smooth as oil. Chioma felt her stomach tighten. "Desmond, who is this woman?" Desmond wouldn't meet her eyes. He picked up the small duffel bag from the corner, the one he used for his trips to town. "Where are you going?" Chioma asked, voice breaking. He hesitated, then said softly, "The city." "The city?" She laughed bitterly. "With her." She pointed at Veronica, whose lips curved in a small, amused smile. "Desmond, our baby." "Chioma," he cut in sharply, "this is my chance. You won't understand. Don't wait for me." The words hit like stones. She grabbed his arm, tears spilling freely now. "Don't do this. We can build our life together. We talked about this." For a moment, just a second, something flickered in Desmond's eyes. Guilt. Maybe even love. But it died quickly. He peeled her hand off his arm like it was nothing. Madame Veronica opened the car door, smiling that slow, knowing smile. "Come, darling," she purred. "The city doesn't wait for dreamers." Desmond got in. The door shut. The car drove away. Chioma stood there, the dust curling around her feet, one hand clutching her swollen belly as though to protect the life inside. She stared at the empty road long after the car was gone, the taste of yam porridge still on her tongue, promises still ringing in her ears. That night, something inside her broke. And she didn't know it yet, but one day, Desmond would pay for every tear she shed. The city swallowed Desmond whole. Madame Veronica's mansion stood like a small kingdom on the edge of Northbridge City, high walls, white pillars, a fountain in front that never stopped running. Inside was another world entirely, marble floors that glistened like glass, chandeliers dripping with crystals, perfumes so heavy the air itself felt expensive. Desmond walked through it all in awe the first night, the village dust still clinging to his shoes. Veronica watched him like a hawk, amused by his wide-eyed wonder. "You like it?" she asked, sinking into a velvet armchair. Desmond nodded quickly. "It's beautiful." "Good," she said, crossing her legs slowly. "Then remember, this beauty has no room for laziness. No room for second thoughts. If you want to stay in my world, you'll do exactly as I say." He agreed before thinking twice. Back then, the promise of wealth was louder than any warning bells. At first, life was exactly what he imagined. Silk shirts, expensive colognes, nights in glittering clubs where Veronica showed him off like a trophy. She gave him gold watches, cars with leather seats that smelled of power, a bank account that filled faster than he could spend. But it came with a price. He was hers. Entirely. Every dinner party, he was at her side. Every trip abroad, he carried her bags, charmed her friends, laughed at her jokes. At night, when the lights dimmed and her diamonds hit the floor one by one, she claimed him like property. Desmond told himself it was temporary. He told himself she would die soon. After all, she was much older, wasn't she? One day the empire would be his. That was the dream. That was what he traded Chioma for. But Madame Veronica didn't look like she was dying anytime soon. Her skin glowed with expensive creams. Her laugh filled every room. She signed deals worth millions with the same hand that wore 5 diamond rings. And slowly, Desmond realized something chilling. Veronica might be older, but she was sharper, stronger, and far more dangerous than he ever imagined. Sometimes, he caught her watching him with a little smile, like she knew exactly what he was planning. And maybe she did. While Desmond drowned in wealth and Veronica's shadow, far away in a meek village, Chioma was fighting battles of her own. Her child came on a night when the rain tore through the village like it was angry at the world. No husband by her side. No money for the clinic. Just a single kerosene lamp flickering weakly as the midwife barked instructions. When the baby's cry finally filled the room, Chioma lay there exhausted, staring at the tiny face pressed against her chest. A boy. Gripping her baby's tiny hand, vowing silently never to cry for Desmond again. She named him Chitara, God has written. The next morning, the gossip began. Women at the well clicked their tongues. Men at the palm wine bar shook their heads. She's finished, they said. Desmond is never coming back. Chioma heard every word. And with every whisper, something hardened inside her. If Desmond thought he had ended her life, he was wrong. Years passed. Chioma worked like a woman possessed. She started small, frying akra by the roadside, carrying firewood on her head, sewing clothes at night while her baby slept. Every coin she earned went into savings. One day, a businesswoman passing through the village bought one of Chioma's dresses. Impressed by her designs, she offered to connect her with a tailor in the city. Chioma hesitated at first. The city was where Desmond lived. The city was where her heart had shattered. But pain, when it hardens enough, becomes power. She packed her things, took her son, moved to the city, and slowly, brick by brick, she built something new. Back at Veronica's mansion, things were changing too. Desmond was no longer the bright-eyed village boy. He was older now, heavier around the middle, the gold watch on his wrist not shining as brightly as before. Veronica still kept him, but she had grown colder. One night, after a loud party, Veronica sat by the fireplace, sipping wine, her diamonds catching the flames. "Desmond," she said casually, "do you love me?" He forced a smile. Of course, Veronica. She studied him for a long moment, then laughed softly. Liar. He froze. Do you think I don't know? She said, swirling her wine. You're waiting for me to die so you can take everything. Isn't that right? Desmond's mouth went dry. I don't know what you mean. Veronica leaned forward, eyes glinting. Careful, darling. This empire? It was here before you. It will be here long after you. Never forget whose name built it. That was the first night Desmond felt real fear. And it was only the beginning. Time has a way of peeling away illusions, slowly, ruthlessly. For the first few years, Desmond lived like a prince. Veronica gave him everything. Cars with tinted windows, holidays in Paris, nights filled with champagne and silk sheets. At parties, she introduced him with a smile dripping with irony. This is Desmond, she would say to her friends, all women with diamonds on their fingers and men half their age. My companion. The women would laugh behind their glasses of wine. The men would shake his hand like he was some exotic pet she had picked up from the countryside. Desmond swallowed the humiliation because he believed it was temporary. He told himself, one day all this will be mine. The cars, the companies, the houses. When she dies, I will inherit everything. Then I'll show them. But Veronica didn't die. Instead, she got sharper, colder. She started locking her office door when making business calls. She handled her lawyers herself. She made Desmond sign papers he didn't understand, routine contracts, she called them, smiling faintly when he asked questions. The first time she caught him snooping through her documents, she didn't shout. She only looked at him with those cat-like eyes and said softly, "Careful, darling. You bite the hand that feeds you, you starve." That night, when she turned off the lights and called him to bed, he lay beside her like a man trapped in silk chains. Meanwhile, across the city, Chioma was slowly weaving her own empire, one stitch at a time. She started in a cramped one-room shop with 2 sewing machines and a dream bigger than the city skyline. By day, she made school uniforms and cheap encre dresses. By night, she sketched designs by candlelight while her son, Chitra, slept beside her. People laughed at first. Fashion? In this economy? They said. But Chioma had fire in her veins now. Every insult, every whisper from the village women, every tear she shed the night Desmond left, she poured it into her work. Soon, a boutique owner spotted her dresses at a local market and offered to display them in his store. Then came a photo shoot in a small magazine. Then an interview on a local radio station about up-and-coming designers. Before long, her designs were walking the runways of Lagos Fashion Week, worn by models who smiled beneath blinding lights while Chioma stood backstage, trembling with pride. Her brand grew. Investors came. One day, she signed a deal that gave her the capital to launch Chi Gold Creations, a fashion empire glittering with success. And through it all, she raised Chitra with the quiet strength of a woman who refused to let betrayal define her. Back at Veronica's mansion, storms were brewing. One evening, Desmond found Veronica sitting on the balcony, sipping tea as the city lights glowed below. "There's something you should know," she said without looking at him. He frowned. "What is it?" "I changed my will today." The words hit him like ice water. Your will?" She finally turned, her smile slow and sharp. "Yes. I left the companies to my nieces, the houses to charity, a few things to my friends. Don't worry, darling. I left you the car collection." Desmond felt the ground tilt beneath him. "The cars." "That's right," she said, standing. "You are good company, Desmond. But empires are for builders, not entertainers." He stood there frozen as she walked away, her heels clicking like the sound of a closing door. For the first time in years, Desmond felt something he hadn't felt since the night he left Chioma. Fear. Real bone-deep fear. It got worse. Veronica's health began to fail, but even on her sickbed, she kept control of everything. The businesses, the lawyers, the will. Desmond stayed by her side, smiling for the cameras, pretending to be the grieving partner. But inside, he was counting the days. And then one evening, she was gone. Just like that. A heart attack, the doctors said. Desmond wore the perfect mask of sorrow at the funeral. He gave interviews about the love of his life, already dreaming of the fortune about to fall into his lap. Until the will was read. Veronica's nieces got the companies. The houses went to charity. Her jewelry collection was auctioned off for a foundation in her name. And Desmond? The cars. Just the cars. When the lawyers handed him the papers, he felt the room spin. The empire he had traded his soul for had slipped through his fingers like smoke. And the worst part? The entire country was watching. Meanwhile, Chioma's face was on billboards now. Her brand was international. Fashion magazines called her the Queen of African Couture. Celebrities wore her designs. Investors lined up at her door. She was no longer the girl crying in the dust. She was power. She was grace. She was everything Desmond once promised to give her, and more. The night of the gala glittered like a dream. The Northbridge City Convention Center shone under 1,000 lights, cameras flashing at every arrival. Black SUVs rolled up one after another, spilling out celebrities, politicians, billionaires, the kind of people who lived in headlines. And then came her. Chioma stepped out of a silver Rolls-Royce in a floor-length emerald gown that hugged her curves like it was sewn by angels. Diamonds gleamed on her ears. Her hair fell in soft waves, framing a face the world had come to know, the face on fashion magazines, on billboards, the face of a woman who built an empire from nothing. The cameras went wild. Chioma! Chioma, over here! Photographers shouted as flashes exploded like fireworks. She smiled for them, calm, graceful, untouchable. Beside her stood Chitora, tall now, handsome in his tuxedo, carrying himself with the quiet confidence of a young man raised by a queen. On her other side was Michael Lawson, the billionaire investor who had helped take Chi Gold Creations global, and who had been by Chioma's side for years now, not just as a partner in business but in life. The three of them walked into the gala like royalty. At the far end of the hall, Desmond stood near the bar in a cheap suit that didn't quite fit. His hair was thinner now, his face heavier, his shoes scuffed. The car collection Veronica left him had long been sold off to pay debts. The friends who drank his champagne when he was rich were nowhere to be found. And then he saw her. Chioma. The woman he left in the dust. The woman who once begged him to stay. The woman who now stood under the chandeliers like she owned the world. He remembered the promises he made under the mango tree. His heart clenched as he watched her greet governors, CEOs, foreign investors, people who once wouldn't have given him the time of day. She looked radiant, powerful, unreachable, and beside her his son. The boy was grown now, taller than him, shoulders squared, eyes sharp. Desmond took a shaky breath and began walking toward them. Chioma saw him coming. For a moment, her expression didn't change. She just stood there, holding a glass of champagne, watching him approach like one might watch a shadow moving across the floor. Chioma, Desmond began, voice low, thick with something between shame and desperation. She looked at him slowly, from the cheap suit to the nervous hands. Desmond, she said evenly. It's been a long time. He swallowed hard. I wanted to talk to you. To explain. There's nothing to explain, she cut in gently. You made your choice. And so did I. His eyes darted to Chitora. My son. The young man's gaze was cold, steady. You are not my father, he said flatly. My mother raised me. Alone. You're just the man who left. Desmond flinched like the words were a slap. The cameras were already turning toward them, sensing drama in the air. People nearby began whispering. Chioma set down her glass and looked Desmond in the eye for the first time in years. You once told me we'd build an empire together, she said softly. Turns out I didn't need you for that. Then she smiled, warm, forgiving but final. I wish you well, Desmond. Truly. But we have nothing left to say. And with that, she turned back to Michael and her son, the three of them walking away as the cameras flashed like a storm. Desmond stood frozen, watching the woman he once abandoned disappear into the crowd, surrounded by power, respect, and love he could never touch again. And for the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to lose everything. The next day, social media exploded. Pictures of Chioma at the gala went viral. Headlines called her the queen of African fashion. The story of her success spread everywhere, the woman abandoned by her husband who rose to become a global icon. And Desmond? Nobody remembered him. He was just a cautionary tale now. And that was just one story of love, loss, and sweet revenge. The next one? It will blow your mind. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and tell us where you're watching from, because we have more unbelievable stories coming your way.